Have thought sledding and snowmen in April.
But for others, the spring snow made for a mess.
And I was like, am I going to be stuck here all day?
Trees toppled by the weight of the snow stretched the commute out for hours.
And later, serious questions for leaders as those without a home are left in the cold.
Why is it difficult to open that many shelter beds on short notice?
Your news starts now.
Good evening. We've rechecked the calendar, and yes, it does say April 11th, though that may be hard to believe. Thanks for joining us tonight. I am David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Has the snow melted where you are? Some areas are still covered in white, while others are a mess of green from downed trees.
Yeah, we have team coverage of the aftermath, beginning with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. And Matt, this unseasonably wintry weather isn't quite done with us yet.
No, it's not. In many areas in the West, hills are still an absolute mess. Trees down, power's coming back, but still some snow stuck up there. You can see on Doppler radar, snowing on Mount Hood. We got some snow showers over the coast range. The valleys have largely dried out. The stars have been out, but still we've had a few lightning strikes in the last hour from this new batch of showers that are coming on shore of the Oregon coast right there by Tillamook. Things will be fairly quiet for the next couple hours, but there are more showers on the way, both rain and snow. Look at the temperatures, though. 38 in Portland, Vancouver holding at 43, 34, though, King City, 36 in Hillsborough, 35 in Happy Valley. So it's cold out there already, but it's not as cold as it was this time last night in most spots. Hillsborough's 3 degrees warmer, Vancouver 5 degrees warmer than the same time last night. So again, that's one difference between tonight and last night. And while I've got some snow showers in the forecast for the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, it won't be anything like it was this morning. Now, we could get some freezing of water on roadways tonight because some of the roads are still wet, slush, snow still melting out, and the snow levels dropping to about 1,000 feet, maybe 500 feet tonight. But any sticking snow will be far lighter than what we had this morning, up to an inch, maybe up around 1,000 feet. I think most areas will see less than that. However, as David alluded to, we're not done yet. We get another chance of snow showers tomorrow night as the cold weather is going to linger for several days, guys. More on that in a bit. Back to you.
Oh boy, more to come. Well, the snow combined with fallen trees made for a real travel nightmare for some. Highway 26 was shut down for nearly 7 hours, and the detour was a mess. The highway is back open, but some streets are still blocked off. Let's bring in Alma McCarty now, who's live for us in Northwest Portland with an update on what to expect tomorrow morning and the rest of the week. Alma?
Well, Laurel, the snow may have melted from the roads, but of course the cleanup continues. I'm on Northwest Cornell Road where a tree fell on some power lines, obviously knocking out the power there. But then it also halted work on the tunnel that's a little ways behind me. And this is just one of several spots throughout the area that is still dealing with the after effects of that severe winter weather.
April snow showers caused quite the backup Monday morning.
Lots of people stuck and turned sideways.
Drivers tried navigating slick roads. Several ran into closures or impassable stretches in Northwest Portland.
I've been stuck on here. Now it's going on an hour and 20 minutes, just to try to get to where I'm at right now.
In my head, I'm always like, there's always something that happens on Mondays, but I didn't expect this to be that crazy or chaotic.
Jesus Montes Gonzalez left Hillsborough for Northeast Portland, sure to get on the road 15 minutes early.
Maybe I underestimated what I was doing, but I think everybody else didn't know that was happening.
He spent 6 hours stuck on the road, half the time on Highway 26. Downed trees near the Oregon Zoo blocked all lanes of the freeway, closing it in both directions for nearly 7 hours. Jesus said he was rerouted to Skyline Boulevard, where he and dozens of other drivers were blocked by fallen trees and got stuck in the snow.
Kind of scary, and it was a little bit unusual, especially almost mid-April, and you get to see this, so nobody was prepared. I wasn't prepared with change or anything.
Though much of the snow melted by Monday afternoon, problems persist.
More than 400 trees destroyed or partially fallen, affecting city streets across the city.
PBOT spokesperson Dylan Rivera explains certain streets, parts of Burnside, Skyline, and Germantown, for example, could remain closed for several days.
PBOT can't get in and clear the road of debris until the foresters have been able to clear the trees. The foresters can't get in to take out those large trees until it's safe for them to operate because of the power lines being down.
PBOT crews also keeping an eye out for roads refreezing and the possibility of black ice.
Now, Rivera tells me that there were about 20 city roads that were closed today at the height of all of this, and PBOT, of course, trying to get all of those open as soon as they possibly can. They said that they're going to have a better timeline on that reopening within the next 24 hours or so. Meantime, Rivera recommends you go on ODOT's Trip Check website before your drive, or even check out PBOT's road closure map. Back to you.
Well, the bottom line there could be a couple days in the West Hills, if not longer. Alma McCarty, thank you, Alma. From there, let's head north of the Columbia. Some folks in parts of Clark County hit with close to a foot of snow. Our Catherine Cook is in Camas tonight with more on this late season surprise.
It was the celebration heard round the metro area. Out this window, cherry blossoms covered in snow. At this house, a tree decorated for Easter. Or was it Christmas? And why not make a backyard fire in the snow? At every turn, a paradox of eye-popping beauty, head-scratching confusion, and calendar checking just to make sure that, yes, it really is April 11th.
So last week I was golfing, and then today we're playing in the snow.
David Moore got around 8 inches of snow at his home in Camas. Parts of Clark County saw nearly a foot. For the kids,
snowball fights. Okay.
That meant no school. It also meant no power for thousands of families like the Moores. Their saving grace, a fireplace that runs on batteries, and a neighbor with some D-cells to spare.
Because he knows we have 3 little kids and wanted to keep some warmth in the house. So we got that going and kept the fridge shut, and power kicked on around lunchtime.
For Clark Public Utilities, it was one repair after another. Here they are near Richfield. Their biggest issue is trees falling into power lines. The snow piled up fast on newly leafed out trees. Their increased surface area like a bunch of open hands holding way too much. Many, like this maple, didn't stand a chance. Others that didn't fall are making people uneasy.
You can see how the branches are hanging down and heavy with the weight of that heavy snow.
In Southeast Portland, arborist Pete Botke shared that older trees and those not native to the area are at highest risk for falling. He says if a tree crosses any type of roadway or sidewalk, urban forestry can remove it for you. He cautions against trying to do the job yourself.
As soon as you hear the crack and the pop, it's going to be too late to run out from under it. I mean, it happens in an instant. And I don't know if you can see the size of that branch. That would not do anybody any favor.
Back in Camas, this snow day is almost complete. And that should do it.
But most of us will likely remember this one for a long time. Boy, back live here in Camas, I want to get you up to date on those power outages. The latest numbers from Clark PUD says that, well, about 2,000 people or so are still waiting for power, but as you can see, they're working hard. Laurel, back to you.
We will remember this for a long time. Thank you, Catherine. Speaking of power outages, hundreds of PGE customers are still without power tonight. At last check, more than 12,900 customers are still affected by the more than 900 outages. That is a significant drop from the peak of more than 67,000 customers who were without power earlier today. Only about 100 Pacific Power customers are still in the dark.
You know, cold weather jackets and ski hats in the valley in April. Who would have thought? This snow, though, a welcome sight on Mount Hood. If you could get there, that is. Our ski resorts, including Meadows, hit with tons of fresh powder. 28 inches at Timberline, according to Matt Zafino a few moments ago. If you're headed up, remember we are back in winter driving conditions. A quick look at Trip Check, those traffic cams, they'll help you figure out what you need to know. Now, you might need a shovel, though, to dig your vehicle out, so prepare that way. And the folks at Meadows say definitely know your limits.
These are the type of conditions that we tell everybody, you ride with a buddy and you keep them in sight. The beginner terrain even has some powder on it. I was talking to some of our lift crews at the top of our Easy Rider lift. There's waist deep snow.
Better hope that's light powder instead of cement. Of course, this means Mount Hood Meadows is going to be able to operate until May 7th. Wow, Dragathon says Meadows was below snow averages headed into April. They're now going to exceed the average after this single storm here.
We are also following a closure in eastern Oregon. Interstate 84 is closed both east and westbound from near Pendleton to the Idaho border. Multiple semi trucks have spun out. They're blocking the lanes. There's no estimate for reopening. Make sure to check TripCheck. It looks like a mess out there. TripCheck.com for the latest closures.
Those failures cascading as the weather moves east. Okay, usually when we're talking about snow and freezing temperatures, we report on emergency warming shelters opening up their doors. But at least in Multnomah County, none are open tonight, and they weren't last night either. Earlier on the story, our Pat Doris asked a simple question. Why?
I found out over the weekend Multnomah County did have one, maybe more people watching the weather and the forecast, but it was a very specific forecast at a very specific time. They looked at the forecast from only the National Weather Service, and they looked Sunday morning. Now, at that time, it did not call for snow or temperatures below freezing at the valley floor. Later in the day, the forecast changed and did call for snow.
As someone who's an outsider, why is it difficult to open that many shelter beds on short notice?
Well, you need a few hundred folks to come out and staff, 4 to 6 sites, right? And you got to get the word out to 211. You've got to get people in charge there. You've got to get the word out to folks to know that they can come to those sites. You've got to make sure the sites are staged. You've got to roll out mats. You've got to make sure there's food service. You've got to make sure folks can get in there. You've got to let TriMet know. There's a lot of steps to do that.
Yep, I do get it. But in my opinion, more should have been done last night. Every forecaster was calling for snow by early evening. Our meteorologist, Joe Ranieri, predicted 5 inches of snow in many areas, and he was right. Yes, it is an unusual storm, historic, and much later in the season than normal. But it reveals something about the emergency shelter structure. It reveals an organization that is lumbering and slow. We're living in a time of climate change. Extreme weather is here to stay. Demanding 12 hours lead time to open an emergency shelter is a concept that should be trashed now. That's my opinion. What's your take? Send me an email, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090.